And welcome everybody to the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe. We've got a great show, lots of information lined up for the day. So we're going to hop right into it with our special guest, Jennifer Linnae from a wonderful organization that does a lot, and they're going to tell us all about it. So again, thank both of you for joining us today. I know Zoom is always an interesting thing when we have the little box meetings all the way across. But I do appreciate you taking some time out of the day to talk to everybody. So with this, why don't you tell everybody, because I'm familiar with your organization, but why don't you tell everybody who's watching a little bit about yourselves and the organization?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely, yes.
Perfect. Again, you're never sure with Zoom, so I always like to check. First of all, thank you for having us. My name is Jennifer Aquino, and I am a family and community support specialist with Action for Children.
And I'm Linnae Boyer, same title, same organization.
Yeah, so we'd love to tell you a little bit more about our organization and what we do in our specific department as well. So we are Action for Children, and we were founded about 50 years ago, so in 1972. Our organizational mission is to transform the lives of children by supporting, empowering, and advocating for the adults who make those biggest impacts on children's lives. So parents, caregivers, teachers. AFC supports quality early learning experiences for young children at home and in the classroom, so to prepare them for success in school and in life as whole. Our specific program, we are the Children's Services Hub at Action for Children, Linnae and I. So we are in partnership with the state of Ohio, and we focus on finding potential foster, adoptive, and kinship families. And, it's really cool because we get to support them throughout their whole journey from start to finish. So, we get to meet these families who are interested in learning more throughout, their entire process of becoming licensing. So these services are provided statewide. However, our program focuses on families in Franklin County and the 6 surrounding counties in central Ohio. And again, this is a partnership that came out of an initiative under the governor's office and the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services to better address the needs of foster children and parents in the area and statewide.
So really, you're not that busy at all with what you just said. It's a really simple task, not a lot of
Yeah, not at
training.
all.
Yeah, I
Yep.
figured as much.
Just
Uh,
hanging around.
Yep. So that's incredibly important work that is so needed in our community. So thank you for that overview. So you mentioned that. So what are some of the more common issues facing Children's Services Hub at the Action for Children? What are some of those big issues that come up consistently?
Well, the consistent issue, to put it simply, is a lack of foster families. Reynoldsburg lies in Licking and Franklin County.
Oh, and Fairfield, we're in all three.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yep.
And in the 2 counties, there were 3,500 youth in care in 2021, and just not enough foster homes. So one of the reasons why is because we used to have families that would foster repetitively. And now folks are really choosing to build their families through foster care. And so they'll take in less children. They'll provide permanency for children, which is wonderful, but they aren't going to do the ongoing fostering. And that's the need that we really, really have. And also, we've had some of those families that do that have retired. They've just grown older and they've decided they need to shut down their homes. And especially since COVID, we lost a great number of foster families. And so the other thing is that becoming a foster parent can feel really, really scary. And so people don't know what to do. They don't know what to expect. And the primary goal of foster parenting is to help with reunification, to give children a place to belong and feel loved until they can go home. And most of the placements don't end in adoption, and that can be really hard on a family who knows they're going to get connected. And if you do this right, it's going to hurt when they go home. So it's a beautiful, painful process when they go home, but you have to imagine that if your child was in care, the first and last thing you would want is for them to be back home eventually. And so that's the work. And parents also don't feel equipped. So in the Children's Services Hub, we are there to answer their questions. Jen and I meet one-on-one with parents who've expressed interest. And so we're able to provide that kind of ongoing support for folks in that process to hold their hand all the way through.
I was wondering how much COVID probably, I mean, COVID obviously has impacted everything, but I think for any social services organization, COVID is just, it's probably been a game changer. I mean, it was, everything shut down. And then when it opened back up, how do you, it's almost, I would feel like it was trying to like restart the entire process all over again, to bring everything back to something close to what it once was.
For sure. This initiative was actually supposed to launch in 2019. And so what launching it did do definitely got curbed by COVID. I do want to share that we are also here for kinship families. There are a great many of families who are raising a child who they did not birth. So a kinship family can be anyone who's related or not. If they have an association with that child, then they can provide kinship care. So that can be teachers, coaches, family, friends. And so what we find is that they need a lot of support because they don't have the same kind of surroundings that foster families do. And so we're there for them as well.
That's, again, it's something that is, unfortunately, it's needed, but I do thank both of you and everyone kind of associated with your organization for their services. So when it comes to people outside of I know the obvious answer is, become a foster parent. I know that that's one of the answers. So in addition to becoming a foster parent, what are other things that people who might be watching or residents of Reynoldsburg, what can they do to help your organization kind of achieve some of its goals in addition to obviously becoming a foster parent?
Sure. So you definitely hit the first one.
Yeah, I figured that would be your first answer.
Become a foster parent, right? So definitely, if you're curious, if you're interested in learning more about becoming a foster parent, Linnae and I would love to meet with you. We are both foster parents as well. So we love to make that connection and kind of, be honest about the journey and what lies ahead. If anybody really is interested, you can visit fosterandadopt.jfs.ohio.gov for more information. Just, peruse the website, look into it a little bit. You can also call Linnae or myself at Action for Children. Our number is 614-224-0222. So we're that resource to help you get connected. And again, if you're not interested in becoming a foster parent, but learning more, reach out. We'd love to teach you a little bit about what that process looks like and chat and spread the word. If you know somebody that's interested in becoming a foster parent, let us know, or let those families know that we exist, and we'd love to help them get connected. Again, this is statewide. So if you're watching outside of Central Ohio, still contact us because we can get you connected to the appropriate hub. Other things.
I really appreciate that you think people are watching from outside of the state of Ohio.
You never know.
I like that. We're going to go with it. There we go.
You never know. So just in case you are, we're here to help. Other things that you can do. There are organizations in Central Ohio that, provide different services and resources. You can volunteer with those organizations. Again, reach out to us and we can connect you to those. But volunteering, donating your time, donating goods, diapers, clothing, things like that, so that these families have something when children are placed in their home. Anything like that is super helpful. So again, reach out to us no matter what, because we'd be happy to connect you to those organizations that do provide those things.
Well, what I found interesting is I don't recall, because it seems like it was about 6 years ago, but I recall meeting your organization. You were actually at one of our community events. I believe it was at Juneteenth, if I'm not mistaken. And for you to be there and participate in an organization like that, where people can come up and just start asking you questions. I obviously asked, and I wanted to make sure that you got some exposure on this particular thing, because it's not like you have an incredibly, I'm sure that your advertising budget only can go so far. So to have that out there, but to be at some of those local community events is huge, because again, you're actually in the community and reaching out, and who knows, you probably talk to people that that have had experience in the foster system. I know in the times that I've been able to present at our schools at the high school, I talked to 3 students last year, and each one of them, they actually talked about foster kids and some foster kids' rights for a program, because 3 of them out of the 5 in there were actual foster kids. And that was something that they didn't hide it. They weren't ashamed of it. They actually kind of wore it as a badge of honor because they were all so thankful that they had an opportunity to be with the families that they were at as they were kind of going through high school and finishing that process. And it was cool to see between that and then seeing you at Juneteenth, and hopefully we'll see you again at other community events as we move forward. Just to absolutely get the word out there, because you never know, if you could come out to one and we have 3,000 people walk by, and if one person decides to become a foster parent, then that one person can change a kid's life. And ultimately, as foster parents yourselves, I'm betting it's changed your lives just as much, that it definitely makes you think a lot differently about things. So I do thank you for that. We have all of your contact information. So for those of you watching, you can obviously just rewind. But if you can get us some of that, maybe we can get it on our social media networks out there as well, just so that way if people want to reach out. But I thank you both so much for taking some time to talk to us today about an incredibly important subject. You are more than welcome to stay on and learn about all things going on in Reynoldsburg, but you obviously will have plenty of things to do for the day. So feel free and go ahead and log out when you're ready to. But again, thank you so much to the both of you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. So again, it's a great organization. I hope you enjoyed it. We're trying to reach out and bring a couple of different players in from different areas, because you never know what the city is looking for, what the city kind of needs. And that's kind of going to be a theme a little bit today. So first thing, we're going to talk about Reynoldsburg City Schools. They have their new batch of October office hours. So if you want to talk to a board member this fall, we have a couple of dates out there. We have October 12th from 2 to 4 p.m. And that is, all of these are at the Graham Road location. This is Graham Road, the Welcome Center, as you were, the former Graham Road Elementary. So Neil Whitman will be there on October 12th from 2 to 4. President Angela Abram and Neil Whitman will be there on October 16th from 6 to 7. October 24th from 6 to 7 will be and President Abram and Julie Towns. And October 30th, being very daring, the day before Halloween, from 6 to 7 p.m., Neil Whitman and Vice President Debbie Dunlap. So all of them will be there at those times. I do highly recommend you go out and talk to them. A lot of times, we see things on social media and we have conversations and people have questions, why this, why that, what's going on here? Unless it's something very specific to your child, if it's more of a general, why does the district do this or do that, or why don't they do this or do that? Those are the great times to go. I know they're there. They are usually not well attended for whatever reason, but I do highly encourage, kind of piggybacking off a couple of things I said a few weeks ago about being in the room and asking those questions about what you think the district should be doing and how we can all work together to help. One of the topics that I'm sure will come up is kind of related to something that we had a discussion about at council this past Monday. The Reynoldsburg community is going to be faced with kind of a couple of different options in the future. And I wanted to hear your feedback about what you think is the best step for our future. We know we've had conversations about how much speeding goes on in the Reynoldsburg area, and I've talked at length with our chief and with many community members about some options. Everybody has their various opinions on speed bumps. But one thing that most everybody does acknowledge that speed bumps will slow down people who want to slow down, and those people who don't want to slow down are going to continue to go through. So the only option is, the additional enforcement. Right now, we are staffed at just about 70 officers. But we don't have the officers to have somebody out consistently in all the different neighborhood areas on a regular basis. Sometimes things happen. Officers are called from one location to the next. Sometimes it could be weather. Sometimes people would just be on vacation, and then not everybody's covering that particular traffic duty, especially when you have other issues that come up in the community. So one of the options is to have a dedicated levy to hire additional police officers that would be very specific to traffic control. We're getting some information on that. Council requested additional info, so we're going to present that to council at the next meeting. And then if they decide to move forward from there, then we'll get into more robust conversations and things of that nature about that, what that would look like. But on the flip side, we also know that the schools will be looking to probably put in an operating levy in the not too distant future. The reality is, because of property values and because of the way the economy is and things of that nature, as much as I would like to say, hey, let's do both, the reality is we're probably not going to be able to do both. So this is one of those things where I'm asking you, and I want you to share it amongst your friends and people who may not watch the 12 o'clock show. I don't know why they don't, but if they don't, just ask them anyway. Where do you think the priority would be? The district is going to be facing some difficult decisions in the next couple of years just because of the way the funding in the state is going. It's not because they're spending outrageous amounts on ridiculous things. The reality is the money that they are spending is basically the equivalent of those monies that were authorized in 2010. It's been 13 years since they last passed any kind of operating levy, which means that if you're imagining living on the same amount of money that you made in 2010, but you're living in 2023, that's kind of what the school district is going for right now. So you can imagine how much more difficult that is. So the reality is, I think only one of them can happen, and I want your feedback as to which one you think is more important. I have my own opinion. I have a background in education. I was a teacher for a very long time, and the city is only going to be as successful as our school district. But at the same time, I also understand that there's a lot of frustration with the way that people are driving. I've been out knocking doors, talking to community members over the last couple of weekends, and I can stand at an intersection and looking at a stop sign, and people will either go completely through it as if it wasn't even there, or they will do kind of like a slow roll to it, where they might come to a small unit of time nanosecond stop before they continue on. And that is an issue. It is a safety issue, especially if you have kids out in the neighborhoods and things of that nature. But ultimately, the decisions have to be made by the community. And it's one of those things where where do we think that our funds, our livelihood should best be put towards? So I look forward to that discussion. Like I said, I don't know when the school district is going to put a bond or a levy issue on for operational purposes. I do not know if we are going to do anything. That is a decision that is made to council, but I'm going to provide the information for them. But those are the kind of conversations that we have to have as a community as to where we want to place our priorities. So with that, let's talk about some other things. We've got a Veterans Day dental care event that's going to be going on November 10th at the Reynoldsburg Dental Care. So if you are a veteran or if you are a family member of a veteran, you can actually get some free services on that on the 10th, Friday the 10th beginning at 8 a.m. Again, that's Reynoldsburg Dental Care. Reach out to them at 614-866-4186. That is something that will be out there. Also, I've had the luxury of going out with our code enforcement officers a couple of times this week to kind of go and see what they see on a regular basis. We've gone to some houses that have had, let's just say that they might have missed one or two turns around the lawnmower on things, but then we've also been to some businesses that are continuing to work to improve what their locations look like. So it's good. I've got one more trip to go. That's primarily some of the residential and apartments. So I'm looking forward to that. But it's good to see what they do. And our code officers, while sometimes I understand there's frustration, they do a phenomenal job of making the city look better, all the way from whether it's landscaping to the way the buildings in our commercial area look and things like that. And we're continuously working to improve those things. If you were able to watch council last week, I did talk a little bit about our community survey results. I'm going to kind of give a little bit of information here and there on those things, but we're going to have a big presentation, the first meeting in November, correct, Jennifer? Yeah, the 13th of November, where they'll come in and kind of do a whole presentation. I talked last time about how everyone felt in the survey that responded felt that our employees, 81% of them were either helpful or very helpful and polite and very polite, which is really good. And there a couple of things were there, our park system, which is phenomenal, rated really high and things of that nature. But again, there are issues when, traffic is one, which I'll update that about Main Street in just a little bit. So those are things there. I also wanted to invite all of you to a new event that's coming up October 26th. It is with State Representative Rich Brown. He is our Franklin County representative, but if you live in Licking County and want to talk, you can still come. It's going to be a town hall event here at City Hall at Council Chambers from 6:30 to 8:30. And he'll be here to answer questions about anything from what's going on at the State House, how does the impact of Intel impact this region, because obviously he'll have some information on that. Things to deal with some of the agencies that he's involved in. He's working with the Veterans Committee and things of that nature. And it's one of those things where me, you can talk to me in Kroger if you see me, if I'm walking up and down Main Street, you can say hi or wave, not the one-fingered wave, but just a regular wave is fine. But not all the time do you get a chance to talk to your state representatives. And so he is going to be here having that conversation with anybody who's here if you have questions about that. So I hope you come. You'll see some of that stuff on social media in the next couple of weeks. As far as our Main Street update, if you have not noticed, they are putting in bricks on the south side of the street while continuing to do the concrete work on the north side of the street. So the reality is the clock is ticking on when this project is going to be done, and it is this year, not other years. I got to make sure I clarify on that. So they're hoping to get majority of the sidewalk, concrete base done by the end of this week. It may, depending on if the weather is a little wonky tomorrow, may bleed over into Monday or Tuesday of next week. But at that point in time, then they're going to be doing some of the other cleanup work. And then we're talking about installing all the bricks to make sure that's in there. And then the street lights. And then the last thing that's going to be done is going to be the actual paving. So everything between Graham and Wagner and Davidson is going to get the complete redo. So the section that they're working on now between Jackson and Wagner is going to get the full depth redo. So it's going to pull everything that you see there, and it's going to pull it all up, and it's going to be brand new asphalt all the way across, all completely done. And it's going to be done at night. So that way it will be as minimal impact on you. Imagine going to sleep one day and then the next day Main Street is done. That's going to be a wonderful thing all the way across. So we're working on that one. And then after that, like I said, some of the lights will be there. So for events that we're going to have this fall, whether it's you're going to Prost or Fourth and Goal, or if you're coming out on Christmas on the Town or something along those lines, those things will be done all the way across. So we're really looking forward to that. Broadwin is having continued work right now, so that is moving really fast. So if you live in the Broadwin area, I'm sorry, but it'll look better. And they are planning on getting that done before the end of this construction season. So we've got that going for us. Our recycling program is off to an amazing start. I think we're in the 270s to 280 pounds. So we're about halfway there, and we're only a couple months into this process. So I do think we're going to hit that 600-pound mark, but don't worry, we're still going to collect those plastic bags. So no matter what you have, bring them in. Even if we've already hit our numbers, we're still going to go forward with the rest of it. Some cool things that are coming up. Obviously, this is, the Halloween season, my favorite. We have a new thing this time, which is the Livingston House nighttime tour. There's going to be one on October 14th at 7:30, 8:30, and 9:30. And I do believe there may be some ghostly spirits that will be visiting towards the end of that tour. If that's too much for you, or if you just want to have a little bit more of a relaxed Halloween experience, we have our Mother-Son Halloween dance on Thursday, October 26th. Dinner is going to be provided by O'Charlie's. There'll be some party favors, and space is limited. I did not get an update yet today to see how many spaces are left. But again, if you're interested in that, go ahead and check that out. We have our Rock Hoppers on Sunday, October 15th, where you can catch some critters in Blacklick Creek. We also have our Kids Home Alone program on October 23rd and October 30th at City Hall from 4 to 6. We've got Halloween crafts on Wednesday, October 18th from 6:30 to 7:30 at the Senior Center. We've got pumpkin carving on October 25th. So there's a lot of those things. And then obviously the really big stuff, which is our Halloween in the Berg, Halloween weekend in the Berg. So starting on Thursday, October 19th, we've got a pumpkin sculpting masterclass with Deanne Arnold from 11 to 5 at the JFK's Gazebo. On the 20th, we have live carving all day. Is that the 600-pound carving that day, or is that a different day?
Yeah, for the whole week.
Yeah, I can't imagine that a 600-pound pumpkin is going to be an easy thing to carve in one day, but they're going to be there the entire time. Saturday the 21st is that giganto lantern, so you're going to kind of see that kind of form up into whatever it's going to be. And then there's some options there again for families and kids to go ahead and carve for beginners. No knives will be used, so it'll all be different other sculpting tools all the way. And I did get one question on that. Are the pumpkins provided, or do we have to bring our own pumpkins for that?
They are provided.
They are provided, so there you go. We also have our community association is having its Reynoldsburg Community Halloween party from 6 to 9 on that Saturday, October 21st. So that's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be the treat trail like we usually have, plenty of games and people in costumes. Probably not going to have a special car this year. Apparently money, no, we can't spend that kind of money on it, but whatever. We're working on it. We'll see. Maybe we can do it. I just know that I've got my costumes picked. But if none of those are your style, or if they are, but you have a little someone at home that you want to bring with you, we have our Spooky Pooch Parade the next day on Sunday, October 22nd that will be there, in addition to some other live carving. So we've got all that stuff going on. Plenty of things there. We do have our Build Your Own Business event, which is going to be November 9th from 6 to 8 at the Reynoldsburg Community Church. So if you're interested in starting a business, expanding your business, or just asking questions about what the process would look like, because maybe you don't like your boss and you want to be your own boss. This would be an opportunity to go ahead and do that. We'll have different representatives from some financial institutions, insurance companies, some members of our building group will be there to kind of talk you through the permitting process and things like that. Any questions coming up?
We have a couple questions.
Okay.
One, let's do the VA event that is at the dental office. Does that say you have to live in Reynoldsburg to attend? Does it give you
The
information?
flyer that I saw did not, but that's a great question that they'll probably be able to ask for you. But we'll look into that too.
Did everyone get a community survey?
I don't believe so. I think the numbers were, they sent it out to around 20 some odd hundred people or
It's a
so.
random
Yeah, it was a random
polling.
selection. And they did it very similarly based off of our off the census tract info. So they balanced it out. It's almost mirrors the number of what the census has as far as race, ethnicity, male, female, age group, socioeconomics, all the way across. And it was spread throughout the entire community. So there wasn't one specific area where it was focused in on. It was pretty much the whole thing. In a grid, almost like if you've seen like our ward map online, it was basically set like that. So there was no one area that was like an overabundance of responses. But all of that stuff is going to be laid out for you at the presentation in November.
And then can you give an update, or it says what construction is being done by the federal bank at Wagner? They're breaking up concrete. And any updates on the repair parts for the fence that was just installed from the sports bar?
Yeah, we're waiting on the parts for the sports bar part. The bank over off the corner of Wagner and Main Street. My guess is that's just continuing on with putting a retaining wall in and a little bit of preparation. We all know that the Wagner Road project is going to start. And because we have crews already down there, they're just making sure that some of that stuff is set ahead of time. So that way, when the Wagner Road part starts, we don't have to dig out anything that we're already putting in for this Main Street part. Good question. All right. So a lot of other things coming up. We do have our swim team Saturday, October 14th. So that's this Saturday is going to be out doing the cash drop thing. Don't worry, they're not going to be wearing their swim outfits because it's probably going to be way too cold for that. So they will be dressed more warmly, but they will be out there. Maybe if it's too cold, maybe that would be like a sympathetic thing. And, you know, just to go ahead and, hey, get something to, you know, I don't know, we'll see. But they are going to be out there. So all that's going on. We also have the Helping Hands food drive that'll be Saturday, November 11th. And the other food drive that's going to be coming up is going to kick off really right now. It is about that team from the city across 256, Pickerington. We are playing Pickerington Central next Friday night, and we are going to do something that is very similar to what Ohio State and that team up north does with the blood drive, except this time it's going to be all about raising bringing in non-perishable items for our food pantry. So keep your eye out for a couple of videos. The mayor and I, Mayor Gray and I, are kind of having a competition about which one's going to be able to bring about not only the best football experience, but also the most donatable items to the local food pantry. So it's a great cause all the way around. So you can check that out. We'll have that really being promoted over the next couple of days. But if you have something, it's a great opportunity to, again, kind of show that team across the way, you know, who's out there and who cares more about their community. So I'm really looking forward to that. As always, if you have any questions, feel free and ask. We are here all the time. We have our next fireside chat next Wednesday at 12 o'clock, and we will be introducing the president-elect, I believe, of the Reynoldsburg Chamber of Commerce, President Sarah Ferguson. So she's going to come in and talk a little bit about what the chamber does, as well as, if you're a business, why is it a benefit to be in the chamber, and how the chamber works with our community, not only our schools, but also the city and our nonprofits. To bring about some really cool things. I do want to give a special shout out to them for last week for allowing the school district, Superintendent Dr. Reed, Board President Angela Abram, and Board Member Mandy Young and I to basically have a community conversation to answer questions. And if you're surprised by this, you probably shouldn't be. The very first question I was asked is when Main Street going to be done? So it's a very common topic all the way. Once Main Street is done, place your bets on what the next questions will be. With that, I want everybody to stay safe, stay respectful. And again, thanks to our guests today from the Action for Children Foundation. We do appreciate them. As far as everybody else, have a wonderful rest of the week. Go Ohio State, and maybe I'll see you out there this weekend. Bye, everybody.